Yeah, it's all right.
Forward motion.
Forward motion. Something will happen. We'll see.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Tompkins County Legislature. Today is Tuesday, May 5th, and the time is 5:31. If you'll please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If we could have a roll call of members, please.
Adam Vinson.
Here.
Dan Wakeman.
Here.
Irene Weiser is asked to be excused this evening. Christy Bianconi.
Here.
Travis Brooks.
Here.
Randy Brown.
Here.
Deborah Dawson.
Here.
Judith Hubbard.
Here.
John Hunt.
Here.
Greg Mezzi.
Here.
Rachel Oslin.
Here.
Iris Packman.
Here.
Veronica Pillar. Lee Shirtliff. Mike Sigler.
Here.
13 members. Okay, 13 minutes present. We do have a quorum this evening. I would like to move on first off to our presentation of proclamations, and we have two this evening. The first one is going to be for Building Safety Month. And I would like to thank Marty Mosley, who is here from the town of Ithaca, who turned in the proclamation for us, and we would like to honor Building Safety Month. Whereas our Tompkins County is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and essential role our homes, buildings, and infrastructure play both in everyday life and when disasters strike. And whereas our confidence in the resilience of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, builders, tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from hazards such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and earthquakes. And whereas Building Safety Month is sponsored by the International Code Council to remind the public about the critical role of communities' large, unknown protectors of public safety, our local code officials who assure us of safe, sustainable, and affordable buildings that are essential to our prosperity. And whereas Mission Possible, the theme for Building Safety Month 2026, encourages us all to raise awareness about building safety on a personal, local, and global scale. Whereas each year in observance of Building Safety Month, people all around the world are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety, resilience, and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by state and local building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and properties. Now Therefore, be it resolved that the Tompkins County Legislature does hereby proclaim the month of May 2026 as Building Safety Month in Tompkins County. Marty, would you like to come up and accept the proclamation and say a few words? Thank you so much. Feel free to say a few. Okay. Just ridiculous. Thanks.
You don't want to email it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It really takes all of us in the building industry, not just code officials or building officials, but individuals like yourselves, legislators that make laws that create the healthy, safe homes and buildings that we all enjoy. The fact is that if we don't have those healthy, safe homes and buildings, we do contaminate areas. We do have less sustainable production of those buildings. And as we know, electricity and other fuels are becoming more expensive. So the tighter we make houses, the more efficient we make houses, the better off ourselves will be for indoor living areas, and it will also help our environment. So thank you. Appreciate this.
Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation for Lake Friendly Awareness Month. And we're going to start off, whereas the Tompkins County Legislature recognizes that the health, environmental integrity, and economic vitality of Tompkins County are closely tied to the quality of the Finger Lakes and their surrounding watersheds. Whereas the Finger Lakes region represents an interconnected system of waters that span multiple counties, linking communities through shared environmental, sorry, let me put my glasses on. I can only read half of this. Economic and cultural resources, and whereas the Tompkins County is fortunate to be situated within the watersheds of two Finger Lakes and both benefit from and contribute to the stewardship of these critical natural resources, and whereas in recent years the Finger Lakes have experienced harmful algal blooms, HABs, driven in part by excess nutrients that promote the growth of algae and cyanobacteria. And whereas these efforts empower community members to take meaningful action to protect water quality and preserve the natural beauty and ecological health of the Finger Lakes for future generations to come. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tompkins County Legislature commemorates the Finger Lakes Community Celebration of Lake-Friendly Living Awareness Month and proclaims the month of May 2026 as Lake Friendly Awareness Month in Tompkins County. And I'm not sure if Sarah Eichel is here to accept the proclamation. Okay, if she's not this evening, then we will mail it out to her, make sure she receives it. If there is anyone here in our audience that would like to speak on privilege of the floor, we do have some blue cards located in the back of the room on that table. Please make sure to fill one out and then send it forward. And let me just read some of the rules for speaking under privilege of the floor. Number 1, I agree to a 3-minute time limit. Number 2, I agree not to raise my voice. Number 3, I agree not to use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace. Number 4, I agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. Number 5, after 3 minutes, I agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. Transferring time to another person is not permitted. Number 6, I agree to be courteous and not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislators are speaking. And number 7, I agree that if I cause a disruption and am asked to leave, I will leave the chambers. We're going to start off with Mr. Robert Lynch.
Good evening. Pardon my formality. I don't like reading from a script, but I will tonight because I've got a lot to pack into these 3 minutes. Robert Lynch, councilperson, Count of Enfield. I'm here tonight to mark the turning of a page. Actually, it turned at your meeting 2 weeks ago. There was no fanfare, few may have noticed, but we in Enfield did. On April 21st, 2 weeks ago, the Community Recovery Fund effectively ended. It did so when this legislature redirected more than $1.6 million in unspent American Rescue Plan, ARPA, funds from Community Recovery Fund grants and instead repurposed them for such mundane things as buying Microsoft 365 subscriptions. Time was running out. You had to do this. But what started in 2021 as an ambitious $7 million program to aid our struggling nonprofit agencies first got whittled down to $6.5 million and now to barely $5 million. Why? Mostly because, despite its wealth and political clout, Cayuga Medical Center could not drag its Crisis Stabilization Center project over the finish line. Its inability to do so simply baffles me. Most took little notice of this failure, but we in Enfield did. Wrote one Enfield resident on social media, and I quote, "This makes me so angry. Small parts of that money could have accomplished tremendous things in the county's towns and villages. Instead, the county gave extension after extension for a plan that was dead in the water from almost the beginning," close of quote. And one former legislator wrote this, quote, "Tompkins County's entire process to allocate the $6 million that they dispersed was laughable, and in the end didn't end up dispersing the money so many that could have used it legitimately," close of quote. Enfield had shovel-ready projects that could have spent the money on and done it on time. You could have helped us build a mental health wing at the Enfield Community Center. It would have cost a fraction of what CMC planned to spend. But that was then. Now let's look to the future. At your last meeting, bipartisan support flowed for replenishing the hospital's $1.5 million failed grant with money from the taxpayers' treasury once CMC gets its act together. Again, baffling. We were told that ARPA money, and only ARPA money, enabled this legislature to circumvent a state gifting ban and funnel public money to a private party. So I say this, and I have nothing against the Crisis Stabilization Center. If you can grant money to CMC, you should equally stand able to help the Enfield Community Council build its mental health wing, and please do. Community Council President Courtney Bailey said this at ECC's last board meeting, quote, "We will get there one way or another. It will take us a while, but we will do it. We will make it happen somehow, some way. Legislature, please help her find a way, help the ECC, and help Enfield." Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Next is former chair Mike Lane. Mike was a legislator for many years here with this board, so we definitely want to thank him for his dedication and many years of serving our community as well.
Thank you, Chair Shauna. I miss y'all. I came tonight to speak about the resolution urging the state legislature to amend New York's in rem foreclosure law to relieve counties of the rising costs of holding other municipalities harmless for unpaid real property taxes. I assume this is a NISAC resolution that's been brought forward for your support. A lot of it is very good, but I really have a problem with the part where it says if the state doesn't step forward and relieve the counties, then the county shouldn't have to go ahead and reimburse the school districts and the villages for their taxes. Those taxes eventually get repaid to the county, of course. I was mayor of the village of Dryden for 10 years, and when I first came on as mayor back all those years ago, one of the things our village had to do was to take care of about a dozen tax sale certificates. Tax sale certificates were for people who hadn't paid their village taxes. But what they did was they paid their county and town taxes bill, didn't pay the village tax. Village has no authority to foreclose, just like school districts don't. And by the county stepping forward at that time, which was really a godsend to the villages, stepping forward, then reimbursing the villages and eventually getting paid back with penalties by the property owners or the foreclosure proceedings, the foreclosures could go ahead. So I hope you would take another look at this resolution, particularly the part that says if the state doesn't step forward that we shouldn't have to, the county shouldn't have to pay the villages and school districts. It should. It helps. And yes, there's money that must be held in reserve for that. I suppose some of the bigger counties can't wait to spend that money, but Tompkins County doesn't need to do that. Thank you. And one other thing, if my time isn't up yet, I will say that we need to continue to support Ukraine.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see you. Next, we have Sasha.
Hello, my name's Sasha. I'm a Ithaca local resident. I'm 21, lived here pretty much my whole life. This is about the resolution on Narcan training in schools. So I graduated Ithaca High School in 2023. So that was 2018, 2019 to 2023 when I was there. And the prevalence of drug use is definitely an issue among people my age and high school aged kids, which I'm sure a lot of us might like to think it's, that, kids aren't doing drugs, but they are. And I myself have had a lot of friends who have tried not just weed or alcohol, but more serious drugs like cocaine, or even heroin while in high school. And when I was in high school, I found myself in a lot of situations where I was around people who were trying these drugs. And when I think about it, if one of them had an overdose or a bad reaction to something, I really wouldn't have known what to do whatsoever. I never got any formal training on it. I knew what Narcan was, but not even how to administer it, nor what drug it specifically helped alleviate an overdose from. And when you're in high school, as messed up as this might sound, but a high schooler's worst nightmare is having to call their parents or call the cops when they are doing drugs themselves or in a group of people who are doing drugs. So having proper training for people who are in those situations to know what to do and have the resources to act on that knowledge is really important. And even the slight hesitation that a kid might have on, should I call the cops or should I not? Or even the amount of time that it takes the police to come to a scene and administer Narcan, or a medical professional, et cetera, could be, unfortunately, somebody living or dying. So, yeah, that's about it.
Thank you. Next is Kate.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Sasha. That was a very powerful testimony coming from someone who grew up in the area. I did not grow up in the area, but I am about to graduate Cornell. Today was my last day of class. And I do coach at Ithaca High School, so I work with kids every single day. And Governor Hochul recently in February signed into law Assemblymember Pollin's bill that mandates Narcan and first aid kits in the workplace. Unfortunately, like Sasha said, the opioid epidemic continues to affect some of the most vulnerable populations in the state, namely children. And New York State adolescent overdose deaths exceed national rates, unfortunately, and is a third leading cause of death of those under 18 after guns and car accidents. So I know that Tompkins County Public Library has taken action on this and has the free Narcan vending machine. I know the Office of Addiction Services and Supports, OASIS, has partnered with businesses in the area to provide Narcan. So today I've come to speak in support of the resolution that would allow schools to train students in Narcan during health class. We already trust students to go through CPR training, et cetera, so this would just empower them to act in an emergency situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Kathy Staples.
Hi, my name's Kathy Staples. I'm from Broome County, but I work for Truth Farm. We're a nonprofit, and I'm here today to talk about overdose education in high schools. So most of the folks who work at Truth Farm, we work there because we work with people who use substances or are affected by substance use. We work there because we're impacted. So my kids had dads that struggled with substance use for their entire lives. They're adults now, and like the best children, I don't deserve them, but sometimes we get lucky. They all learned how to use Narcan by the time they were 12 years old. Not because it was this might happen or you might see your friends do it. It could be your dad. But my younger son, who was the challenge of my life and also the joy, skipped school when he was in high school and had to call me and say, Mom, there's a guy by Tie Time and I don't think he's okay. I said, well, do you have your Narcan with you? And he goes, no, I didn't bring it today. I was like, okay, well, first of all, hang up, call 911, stay with him until somebody gets there, and then we'll talk about why you're at Tie Time at 10 o'clock in the morning. But this only happens because my kids are educated enough to realize what's happening with somebody. So that gentleman wouldn't be alive if my kid did not have that education. There's nothing negative that happens from the use of Narcan. If somebody's unresponsive because they had a heart attack, it's not going to fix the heart attack, but it also will not make that situation worse. And for kids who are affected by someone else's substance use or even their own substance use, last summer in Broome County, we had a young man who took a Percocet. 22-year-old man, Percocet, that'd be a doctor's script. But it wasn't, it was a pressed pill and he died. So all that education and knowledge could have been imparted to his friends. They could have saved him that night, but now he's not available anymore. Offering kids the education to make informed decisions is important. We've acknowledged that with like Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We've given our kids condoms because like teens don't always listen just because it's mom and dad saying the thing, but sometimes having that education is the thing that's going to save them in a situation. It may not save them, but it might save their friend. And a teen who experiments with substances may not develop substance use disorder, but they'll still die from the overdose. Thank you.
Thank you. Ishan?
Hi there. Thank you so much, Chairwoman Black, and thank you so much to the Legislature for letting me come in and speak today. By ways of introduction, hello, my name is Ishan. I'm currently a rising senior now at Cornell, studying public policy, and I'm also a member of the State Policy Advocacy Clinic. And for the past year, I've had the absolute delight of being able to work alongside Kate and Maria, who we'll hear from in just a second, all about advocating for the expansion of Narcan in New York State high schools. A little bit later, we'll talk to you guys a little bit more in depth about the intricacies of the bill. But one thing I really just wanted to highlight right now was the idea that it takes a village. As someone who studies public policy, as someone who hopes to be like all of you one day and work in public service, that idea has really resonated with me, the idea that in order for communities to work together and to move up together, we have to help each other out. And one of the most powerful benefits of a policy like this is that high schoolers can do so much good, not only just inside their high schools or on the school bus, but in their local communities, at the park, at church, wherever an overdose may end up occurring. A couple years ago now, there's a student by the name of Victor who went out of his way because he was really curious about drug overdoses and Narcan, and he actually got certified to learn how to administer Narcan himself. One day he was outside with his dad, and he actually saw someone overdosing on the street. And randomly, and thankfully, he happened to have Narcan on his person, and he ran up to him, this 16-year-old, no medical experience whatsoever, wasn't a certified EMT. He went, he administered Narcan, and he ended up saving that gentleman's life. High schoolers have the capability to do so much good, and they can save not only each other, but also community members. So I strongly urge, and I really hope that all of you will vote yes on the resolution just a little bit. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Next is Maria Santa.
Hello. I'm going to be reading as well, but good evening. My name is Maria, and here as a resident, a student, and someone who has seen the opioid crisis move from a headline, but also to a lived reality. I've lost friends to overdose, people with futures, people that I cared about. When you lose somebody that way, the hardest thing to live with is the what if. What if someone had been there? What if they had the right tools like Narcan? That is why I'm here today to urge the body to formally support Assembly Bill A10060. There is a tendency to view students as people who we need to protect from the world. But the truth is that the students are active, vital members of our community. We're the ones sitting in the back of the bus, the ones at late night study sessions, and the ones that are at the parties where these tragedies often unfold. When an overdose happens, a student is almost always the first person on the scene. Currently, many of us feel helpless in those moments, but by supporting this bill, you aren't just changing a policy, but you are acknowledging that we are capable to look out for each other. Our schools should be the safest places in our community, and safety requires being ready for the reality of 2026. Supporting this resolution tells the youth that this county sees us as partners in public safety. We can't bring back the friends that we've already lost, but we can make sure that no other student has to stand by and watch a friend die simply because they weren't allowed to help. I ask the legislature to pass this resolution and help us protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you. And the last speaker we have tonight is Ken Glover.
I have 3 basic questions that I would hope that the entire legislature could comment upon. One is, what steps is the county taking to systematically...
Sorry, Ken, can you get closer to the mic?
Yes. Just 3 basic questions. One, what steps is the county taking to systematically ensure that Tompkins County residents who receive SNAP are aware of the work and voluntary requirements to continue to receive those benefits, and as well as the ramifications if they do not comply with those requirements, federal requirements under the Big Beautiful Bill Act? The other question is, what steps is the county taking to reopen the Tompkins County Human Rights Office? It's been closed for a very long period of time, and I'd like the community deserves an update as to what the county intends to do to reopen that office, given the considerable and important ethnic diversity, as cultural diversity, and other issues that exist that are important. And then my third thing is that there's a glaring lack of ethnic and gender diversity on construction sites in the public and private sector. And I would like to know what the county intends to do, or how can the county sit down and create more training opportunities for Black people, women of color, as well as other Ithaca residents to learn building construction skills and building trade skills on the new office building that is about to be built in Tompkins County. And the other thing I think that's important is these things need to be addressed both publicly, as well as also the question, the Tompkins County Human Rights Office has been closed for months. And I know that the county has said that it wants to, that diversity as well as ethnic diversity, and people will perceive the county as moving away from diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it has to state, to say, what is the plan to staff that office? What is the plan to do outreach in that office? Considering that the ramifications in terms of not complying with the SNAP requirements, how is the county, what is the county doing to ensure that people know what they must do, as well as if there are not enough jobs, where are the people going to be able to get the employment opportunities? Because there's a book, I remember from the past, Julius Wilson wrote a book, What Happens When Work Disappears? And on the construction sites, most counties and cities have created programs to where when you build something using county funds or city funds, they sit down and they say, we want you to train people within that county, right, on the construction site so that people can get the marketable skills in order for them to continue to go on and be a part of the building trades industry. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here for privilege of the floor this evening? Okay, I don't see anyone else. I did receive a message from Kayla Matos from the city of Ithaca, and she's not able to attend tonight. Bob Lynch, did you want to say anything on behalf of the Enfield Town Board?
Yes, I can answer a few questions.
Okay.
We have some issues in process. We have some exciting opportunities too. As I am speaking tonight, a class from Cornell University is making a design review presentation up at Milstein Hall into the reimagining of our skate garden. You may remember that a very well-intentioned individual came to us, our town, a couple of years ago and decided to have a skateboard ramp constructed and got parks money through Tompkins County to enable that. Well, the project went only so far and hasn't really gotten much farther. And our town board wants to reimagine what we can do beyond having just a skateboard ramp there. If there's something more that we can add that makes it more family friendly. And we're working on that, and it will be interesting to see what the other town board members come back with and the Cornell design class comes back with as to what may be done in the future. We don't have any funding for it right now, but we have ideas, and at least we have a starting point. A few weeks ago, just before you voted as a legislature to ban flock cameras in the future from Tompkins County, our town board evaluated it. There was a member-filed resolution which would have supported continuation of the flock cameras in Tompkins County would have recommended it, and we had a split vote on the town board. 2 people supported the resolution to urge continuation, 3 people opposed it. But we did want to weigh in with our opinion on that, and we did. Couple things in terms of issues that might have a wider view to people in the community. As you know, a couple of towns, Dryden and Danby, either have enacted or will enact soon bans through their zoning laws on having data centers or crypto mines in their community. Well, we in Enfield don't have any zoning law, but a town board member came to us after hearing of Dryden's actions and said, why don't we write a law in Enfield that would somehow ban data centers and crypto mines in our community? Now, nobody's come to Enfield suggesting that that be constructed, and frankly, I don't think they ever will. And I said that to the town board. I don't really know how constructive it is to enact something for a problem that's never going to arise. Nonetheless, one town board member is in the process of writing some kind of legislative ban, and that will come up at a future town board meeting. We have a public hearing coming up a week from tomorrow into a couple of different issues. One is a billboard moratorium. A person came to us, I don't recall what company it was from, and said, do you allow billboards in Enfield? And actually, we don't have any legislation involving it. And that concerned some members of the town board and said maybe we ought to have some kind of a law either banning billboards in Enfield or restricting them. And we would probably let the planning board write the proposed legislation. So we're having a public hearing coming up a week from tomorrow into whether we would have a 6-month moratorium on billboards in Enfield until that regulation can be written. We also have a public hearing on a site plan review law, which doesn't really have that much change from the law that's already on the books, a couple of minor things, but it will be a public hearing and we will freshen up that law. And so that's the sum total of the things we're working on in Enfield. And we've had busy meetings and we've had productive meetings. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Lynch? Okay, thank you for the update, Bob. We appreciate it. I did want to make an announcement that we will have executive session this afternoon for discussions regarding proposed pending or current litigation and for purposes of contract with a particular entity. Next, let's move on to legislator privilege of the floor. Greg Messy.
Thanks, Shauna. I just wanted to address one of the questions that was asked about apprenticeship and job training for the construction trades. Ithaca Area Economic Development, which we're a financial supporter, contributor to, has their Tompkins Build program, which is a Pathways to Apprenticeship. This is, I believe, the 3rd cohort that they've done and are in the process of wrapping up. Actually, May 7th is the last day for the spring 2026 cohort. But this is a program that works with the building trades unions to get individuals an opportunity who may not have an opportunity otherwise to explore different building trades. It also gets them their OSHA 10 certification, first aid CPR training. Milwaukee Tools is a sponsor, so it equips them with some tools to get started in their career. And there's a very high degree of job placement with the trade unions through that program. So that's something to keep in mind, to check the Ithaca Area Economic Development website when those programs come up for the next round of participants. But they've seen great success with that because this is an area that needs to be addressed and continued to be addressed. But I think IAED and the Tompkins Build program is doing a good job trying to chip away at the issue. So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Thank you, Greg. Mike Sigler?
Well, first I want to thank everybody that came out about Narcan. I do want to point out that right in this AED over here, there is Narcan. I point this out because A couple years ago, one of the Buffalo Bills players was hit on the field and his heart stopped, and they used an AED just like that to revive him. And without that, he probably would have died. And that made me wonder, how does an AED work? I'd never used one. And so I went up to Dewar, and our county offered training in that. And along with that training on the AED was Narcan training. And that's how I know that it's in there. And also a Stop the Bleed kit is in there. So if anybody was ever wondering about those kits. The big takeaways were something the one woman said was Narcan will not hurt the person regardless of what they've taken. So it is just an inhibitor for opioids. The other thing I would say is to relate to the AED, don't be afraid of it. If someone has had a heart attack, CPR is wonderful, but CPR is only good until you get one of those machines on the person. And you can't really harm them. The instructions, once you crack that open, it will tell you what to do. So just don't be afraid of it, and bring it to whatever scene needs to be. And there are in so many public buildings. So if you have not had that training, I would call Dewar, and they do have them. And it was one of the more valuable trainings I've had probably in the last 2 or 3 years. I just want to respond a little bit to Bob, just because the funding that we had put aside, the one thing I think that COVID did expose was there is a mental health crisis in this country. I believe there also is a drug abuse problem in this country. And frankly, voting on the mental health stabilization unit, that's what that money was for, was one of the prouder votes I've had actually on the legislature, because I felt that that money actually addressed something that COVID exposed, and that's what that money was for. And the mental health stabilization unit was going to be designed so that if the police were to pick up somebody on the street who was having a mental health crisis, we don't just take them to jail. We actually take them someplace to get treatment. And the detox center was just a good place. The building was ready-made. The problem came was when we were trying to get that passed through the state. So it wasn't, and while I appreciate people think that the Cayuga Medical Center is some kind of wealthy organization, it is a not-for-profit, and every rural hospital right now is kind of struggling. So it's not like there's a whole bunch of extra money lying around. And as most people will tell you in the mental health profession, that is not a profession that's flush with cash. It is not a moneymaker for the hospital. It's a money loser, in fact. So that to pay for mental health, they have to make money someplace else to kind of pay for that. And frankly, what we've discovered, I believe, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn, is the only person that's going to do that is probably our community hospital, which is Cayuga Medical. So I just take pause when people say that Cayuga Medical couldn't get its act together or things along those lines. This project's not dead. They are still working on it. I still hope that this county will have a mental health stabilization unit, so when police do pick up someone on the street who's having a crisis, we have some place to take them, and also a detox center so that if someone has decided to stop their drug use, we can get them there quickly as opposed to waiting, and then the person may change their mind. So that's all I have to say about that, but thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike, also for putting the facts out there. I think it's important that our community knows the history and is provided with the correct data. So thank you. Deb Dawson and then Rachel Oslin.
Thank you, Shona. I'd like to address the gentleman who had questions about what we were doing to inform the public about the changes to the SNAP program. We actually, our Director of Social Services is part of a work group that includes the Human Services Coalition and a variety of organizations around the county. They have put out a press release including information on the expanded work requirement and the populations that are affected, and links to all of the materials, websites, and resources that were created in order to inform the public. They're working on a SNAP outreach video. Let's see. They have a Tompkins-opportunity.org website that includes all of the resources for people, not only for jobs, but for educational and volunteer opportunities that actually qualify you for SNAP. They continue to have a work plan, and let's see, they have shared a tompkinsopportunity.org database with the Cortland County YMCA in the hopes that other counties in the area will buy in and list their opportunities. And the only reason I know this is that I shared your concern about what we were doing. But rest assured that we are doing our best to get the information out there, so no one will lose their benefits if we can help it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Oslin.
I also wanted to address some of the questions brought up during public comment. I was going to mention the Tompkins Opportunity website as well. And in terms of the Office of Human Rights, I also share the concern that it's been closed for a while, but we are moving forward with hiring a manager for that office with the intention for it to be open again soon.
Thank you. Judith Hubbard.
In light of this proclamation about lake-friendly awareness, I think it's important that we not just view it as a proclamation about how great it is to live in a lake-friendly way. The news came out recently that on April 23rd, we had our first harmful algal bloom of the season. Last year, the first harmful algal bloom came on July 5th. So this is well ahead of schedule, and in fact, well before when the Community Science Institute even starts monitoring for harmful algal bloom. So this was reported by a volunteer who happened to be walking along the shore of the lake and saw the algal bloom. I hope that we can address these issues in this legislature and that we can go beyond simply lake-friendly awareness towards lake-friendly action. But also I'd like to point out that the Community Science Institute is actively seeking more volunteers for their HAB monitoring program. It is largely run by volunteers. So I think they have some hundreds of volunteers who check the lake every week. If you have time in your day, please consider joining, and don't forget to vote in the ICSD election on May 19th.
Thank you. Adam Vinson.
I just wanted to echo what Mike was saying about taking the CPR AED courses. If you check your emails, you should have received some in the last few weeks from Dewar. They're holding their classes right now, and I believe there are some spaces still available. I say this because I took my class just yesterday. I found it to be very helpful. It's a good opportunity to meet with other members of county staff. It has everything he mentioned, CPR training, AED training. You point out where the AEDs are in your building. Additionally, training on choking and Narcan. That last part I found to be very striking in how actually simple it is to administer. I'd always expected it to take a lot of steps, be very difficult, but no, it's just you get the thing, put it up the nostril, squeeze. It's easy. Anyone can do it, and I think that's one of the reasons why I'm very much in favor of the bill that's been brought in front of us today on this.
Great, thank you. Next is Christy Bianconi.
Thanks. Just a couple of things relating to how mental health services currently work in the county and Cayuga Medical Center. So just to clarify, somebody in the community who's having a mental health crisis, going to the hospital really doesn't happen. Where they wind up is going to jail isn't what happens. They wind up at the hospital. So that's where the Crisis Stabilization Center could do so much good, is it's actually going to relieve our hospital system. So it's in Cayuga Med's best interest to pursue that stabilization center. So I don't want people to have the impression that we're taking people to jail when they're having a crisis. That's not what's happening. And certainly Cayuga Med has a good reason. And it would benefit all of us to decrease some of the pressure that currently happens with folks who are having psychiatric crises being taken to the hospital where they could be treated and stabilized elsewhere. Regarding the Narcan bill, I'm also very much in support of it. There is no science that would say that there's anything wrong with administering Narcan. The thing that we're fighting is stigma. That is it. There's no reason not to do it. It's life-saving, it's simple. So it's just about combating the stigma. It's that easy. So thanks, guys, for bringing that forward.
It's so nice to have a social worker as part of our legislature. Anyone else? Any other legislators? Okay. I'm going to move on to a quick chair's report. And as you notice, we do have some Cornell students, and I just want to thank them for not only being students here at Cornell for the past few years, but also being part of our community. And many times we have students that are here for 4 years, and they go to school and they go home during the summer. And I really want to thank this state policy clinic, because they have actually embraced Tompkins County as their community. I was invited to attend their class last week, and I was presented with 4 different ideas that they thought would be good for Tompkins County. And it was everything from changing the way that we do things in our jail to the Narcan policy that we'll hear about tonight. And I just want to say how absolutely impressed I was by the engagement of your students. I have a 21-year-old too, so I feel like any one of these kids could be my kids. But it was, they were just so engaged and just so intelligent, and I really love to see their passion. And it's incredible, because we know that there are many students on the Hill, but whenever we actually have interactions with them, it reminds me why I love so much to live in Ithaca. So thank you for engaging with our community and doing this research. I know Travis and Christy and I have all engaged and done some Zoom calls with you all, and these guys have spent numerous hours on the phone with Dr. Dindali, who's a local pediatrician and the medical director at Ithaca City School District. And they've spent numerous hours on the phone with Anna Kellis and Leah Webb. And they've gone to Albany, and they've just really, really done their homework writing the resolution. And this is something that, we pass resolutions all the time. Sometimes they're feel-good resolutions, and, we ask the state to do this or do this. But this is a resolution that, yes, it's asking that we support Anna Kellis's bill, and at some point Senator Webb is also going to be a sponsor in the Senate. But this is something that is really going to have impact in our schools. And I think there definitely is an appetite for this on the state level, whether it gets passed this year or next year. We hope that it gets passed this year. But it is something that absolutely will save lives. And, I think for so many years it's been very taboo about talking about drug use in high schools. But the reality is, whether we talk about it or not, it's happening, and we have to talk about it in order to save lives. And we know that this one little vial of medication, whenever you squeeze it in someone's nasal passage, can, and in fact many times does, essentially bring people back to life. So I thank you for taking this really important issue and making it known and bringing it to the forefront for this legislature, because I think it's really important. Deborah.
I was wondering, Chair Black, if we could pull that resolution off the consent agenda and move it to the front so that these students can see the impact of their participation.
Let's do that, yeah. And if the students, if you all, I think we have a handful of seats. We can definitely bring you all at the front of the table here. Going to be part of democracy this evening. I'll try and get some good pictures too, so that you can put it on your Instagram or Snapchat or Facebook, who knows? I don't think the kids do Facebook.
They don't use Facebook anymore, Shauna.
TikTok, whatever. This might be part of the reels. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to ask Travis Brooks, as chair of HHS, is to move the resolution and put it on the floor for us.
Well, let me pull it up here.
Okay.
I would like to move resolution in support of New York State Assembly Bill A10060-A, the Opioid Overdose Health Education and Naloxone Access Bill, resolution number ID 14050.
Great. Can I have a seconder, please? Christy Binconi. And Travis, would you like to start us off?
Sure, I'll share a little bit. A lot has been said this evening so far about the bill. It came through public safety. It was a unanimous vote. The idea is to allow students at the high schools to be able to have Narcan and be able to use it when needed. The folks that spoke earlier had met with Shauna, Christy, and I at different times. They've done so much work. They've met with different school folks from different school districts. They came and they presented at public safety. It was a no-brainer to us. Anytime Mike Sigler says he agrees with everybody else, then it is absolutely a no-brainer. So that's where we're at. If you all would like to share any more about the bill, that would be great.
Yeah, I mean, we have a prepared little pitch that we always do, so.
Your pitch?
Let's do it. Go ahead and definitely do that for you. Ishan?
Yeah, hi there. So you heard a lot. We'll try to be as brief as possible, but really the origin story for what made us so passionate about this bill is we saw the statistic from the CDC that said that opioid overdose deaths in adolescents, 2 out of every 3 deaths, there was a bystander that was present. But in about 68% of those cases where a bystander was present, they did nothing. They didn't call 911, they didn't help their friends, either because they're too scared, too shocked, too high, they just didn't know what to do. There's clear today that there's a problem in our education system when it comes to teaching our students not only what is overdose, but also how to respond to overdose as well, which is really what this bill tries to go and do.
Yeah, the bill, and Travis, you encapsulated perfectly, has a 3-part approach. So first, it allows high schools to implement Narcan training into existing health curriculum. So it's not adding a whole new burden into high schools, but are just building onto what already exists. Today in high schools, most health classes already teach about overdose. So we're just hoping that we're not just informing the students, but also empowering them to act in an emergency. Second, it also allows students who have been trained and are authorized to carry Narcan on school grounds. We already allow students to carry things like EpiPens or engage in CPR training. So this just extends the same knowledge and logic to that. Again, I said it before and we have said it before, but it's also about thinking of students as community members. So not only allowing them to carry Narcan in their school, but also in the way back home, at church, in the parks. I would think it's very, very important. And lastly, it just allows students, it just allows high schools to stack up on Narcan. And yeah, it's pretty easy, and we just, again, want to empower the students and want to make sure this gets passed. So thank you.
Hi again. Thank you, Mara and Ishan. So the campaign for adolescent drug use in the United States has been successful, and drug use overall has declined. However, the number of overdose deaths has increased because the opioid crisis has changed due to illicitly manufactured fentanyl, contaminating counterfeit pills, vapes, and opioids have even been found in gum. So our young students don't know that they're taking opioids, and these deaths are accidental. In lots of rural parts of New York, there are pharmacy deserts, so accessing Narcan in the first place is difficult, even if a student wanted to go out of their way and buy it in their local pharmacy. Ambulance response times exceed 14 minutes. So during an overdose, respiratory depression can lead to brain damage within minutes. So by contrast, naloxone, as stated, can be administered immediately, and it's both safe and easy to use. Other states and school districts, namely California, has already implemented similar programs, and they've shown that that they're feasible and effective. And the programs have shown that providing Narcan does not encourage substance use in high schoolers. New York has a strong foundation for this. We have our Good Samaritan law, which protects individuals who provide emergency assistance. So this would give students the legal clarity to act in an emergency and know that they would not get in trouble. And our health curriculum already provides mandatory training on opioids and drugs. But you can know what to do all you want in a situation, but if you don't actually have the Narcan on you, you can only call 911. So ultimately, this isn't about changing student behavior in the abstract, but about empowering them and giving them the capacity to act in an emergency situation. And we're very happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Sasha or our friend from Truth Farm, did you have anything to add?
If everyone wants a Narcan, and I've got some in my car.
Awesome.
Yay.
John Hunt.
So I had the thought went through my head, who's paying for the Narcan? Oh, sorry. Who's paying for the Narcan? So I saw in the fifth whereas, though, that this is not a mandate that the state is saying the school districts need to purchase Narcan. It's actually, it says permissive rather than mandatory, and it's an unfunded mandate. It's not an unfunded mandate. So it's allowing schools to offset costs, as the Assembly, I assume, is paying for this, and free supply programs. So that's great, because we heard a parent say, I trained my children, I gave them Narcan, but here we are. The state is providing the Narcan for this bill.
Did you have an answer for that?
Yeah, I do. Okay. So Truth Farm is part of New York State's.
Sorry, can you just use the mic so that it picks up for the video?
No, I'm not tall. Better?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So Truth Farm is an opioid overdose prevention program with New York State. There's a ton of community-based organizations across the entire state that receive Narcan, naloxone is the generic name, for free from New York State. That free is because of opioid settlement funds. How did we get opioid settlement funds? A lot of our loved ones died. And so the product itself would be free to the schools because, like, Truth Farm already does Narcan training. And will Narcan train people, we also supply naloxone in Nalox boxes so that people can take it at any time. They don't have to come talk to me if they don't want to. But this has been a sticking point. Like, high schools and health teachers want their kids to be trained, but don't have the framework. Y'all are giving them the framework. That'd be appreciated.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Dan.
Oh, Dan from probation. Come on up, Dan.
Thank you for accepting me as an uninvited guest on this. I'm the probation director. I wanted to thank all the students for what you're doing to advocate for this. I also wanted to point out that often Narcan is not a one and done dosage these days. So having a small bevy of people in a school or another or out in the community who could administer multiple doses, because people don't tend to carry 3 or 4 doses, they carry 1 or 2. That's true. It will offset the timeline until first responders can get there to administer additional doses and provide professional medical care. So I'm fully behind this and see no downside. I really appreciate the efforts that you guys have put in to advocate for this.
Thank you, Dan. Dan is our director of probation for the county. Lee Shirtliff.
Bear with me for just a minute. At the risk of disclosing my age, I'll tell you I've been an emergency medical technician for 40 years. And Sunday morning, responded with our paramedic on a rural call, a person unresponsive and diabetic emergency, but quick intervention, quick response in a rural area, and we had the person talking to us within 4 or 5 minutes. Thursday night, and I appreciate Adam and Mike's comments regarding AEDs. Thursday night, another paramedic and I had the opportunity, just coincidentally, to sit down and have a beer with a gentleman we used an AED on 3 years ago, twice, and he's with us today. And, but I'll tell you, the number of incidences where I've seen a successful intervention, such as the last 2 examples, pale in comparison to the number of resuscitations that I've seen in just the last 5 years with Narcan in our community and in the broader areas. And I applaud you for your efforts. This there shouldn't be any stigma. There have been more saves with Narcan than probably just about anything we've seen in the last 20 years, and I wholeheartedly support this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, let's go ahead and vote. Do we want to do a roll call vote this evening? Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
Adam Vinson.
Yes.
Dan Wakeman.
Yes.
Christy Bianconi.
Yes.
Travis Brooks.
Yes.
Randy Brown.
Yes.
Deborah Dawson.
Yes.
Judith Hubbard.
Yes.
John Hunt.
Yes.
Greg Mezzi.
Yes.
Rachel Oslin.
Yes.
Iris Packman.
Yes.
Veronica Pillar.
Yes.
Lee Shirtliff.
Yes.
Mike Sigler.
Yes.
Shauna Black.
Yes,
That's unanimous.
that's unanimous. That very rarely happens in these chambers, so. Thank you again to the students for your hard work and for bringing this forward. This is very important, and your work definitely goes very noticed. Okay, let's see here. Next, let's move on to a report by our county administrator, Corsa Kumpy.
That's a great report, Corsa. Thank you.
I have a very long report. Okay, so I will. What's my password?
Oh, no.
Nice try, Greg.
Good try, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. The first report I have here is our Cold Blue shelter closed last night. So I just want to say a big thank you to our DSS staff, VOA team, and also our community partner that help us to have very good or successful Cold Blue season. Our hope is to be able to reduce the amount of or the number of individuals receiving or accessing Cold Blue services. I would say VOA were able to connect at least 23 people to permanent housing and at least 10 individuals to jobs as well. So I'm really happy with the outcome, and we look to the next season to continue that improving on how we provide a service to our residents. We're also working on closing the funding for the legal support services. We are very close. The current
We can share it.
agreement or the application process is being reviewed by county administration, and we are hoping to get it all done by end of this week and release it. So we are working very close to getting it out as soon as possible as well. Also, representative from DSS, county admin, the county attorney's office continue to participate in a weekly update call with the New York State HCR team on their stereo issues. We have a meeting set up with them, I believe, on Thursday to review some of the few issues that we have ongoing, and we are hoping to be able to get some outcomes. Public health team continue to identify issues as well as the city of Ithaca, so we are hoping that we can collectively agree on a framework that will provide us some good outcomes as we move forward. There was a question about the Office of Human Rights. I will say that we posted a position last week. The position for the Human Rights Programs Manager is open. We'll be closing on May 24th. As of this morning, we have 10 qualified applicants. County administration is being led by our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer, Leon, to coordinate the application, the interview process. And I believe he will be sending an email to some of you to get a member of Legislature that will serve on the interview panel as well. So we are moving very swiftly to get the position filled. I just also want to indicate that the current staff has been off sick for a couple of months, but all calls to the Human Rights Office phone number is still active. County administration respond to those calls. So if there's any individual who needs support, who needs services, please call the human rights number, and county administration will respond and connect that individual to relevant agency that can provide them support as well. budget retreat is May 12th at 5 p.m. at the Rise Conference Room on 55 Brown Road. We are still waiting for the passage of the state budget. According to a news article just a short while ago, New York State Senate Majority Leader sees conceptual agreement on state budget policy items. She indicated that we are, I will say, pretty much having conceptual agreement on the governors for major policy proposals. So presumably we are close. Last year, the budget was approved on May 8th. So we are hoping that we don't beat the deadline, but we will see how that comes up. And that's my report.
Thank you, Corsa. Any questions for Corsa or comments? Rachel and then Veronica.
Thank you for the report, Corsa. I was wondering for the legal support services, this is the 50,000 that we allocated, is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
And do we know the agency that will be administering the services yet, or is that still in the works?
It is an open application, so when we release the application, we expect any agency or legal agency working with individuals will apply. It's not dedicated to a specific agency, but it's an open application process.
Okay.
If Maury wants to add something.
No, that's exactly right.
Okay. Veronica?
Corsa, thanks you for the report. I can't help saying it's rather frustrating that a budget is being held up because of policy proposals. I don't think those are supposed to be in the budget. But anyway, my question is about Asteri. I know you might not have the answer to this, but last we heard from the Board of Health, Asteri had a deadline of, it was either April 30th or May 1st to get some responses to the Board of Health order in order. How did that go?
I don't have an update on that yet, but I will check with Officer. Yes, Maury is here. Maury will have an update.
Yeah, I can answer that in part. As far as the last report I received, it has not been paid yet. So the process going forward is they would get a second notice and another demand for payment. It's like bill collection, and eventually, if necessary, we would proceed to take them to court to get the money if necessary.
Do you have more questions?
No, but some other people do.
Okay. Iris and then Deborah.
Is the $2,000 per violation per day running now? Has the clock started on that?
I think anytime they go in to inspect and there are issues, that kicks in. But I think that for the current charges, if the payment is late, and that's when maybe there may be other charges coming on top of it. But the $2,000 extra is anytime those identified issues are not fixed and the inspectors are able to witness something. So in order not to go back and start the whole process again, anytime they see reoccurrence and cite them, it automatically includes the $2,000 a day.
Is there a scheduled reinspection date?
We have talked about that, and I'm hoping that there's a frequent inspection being carried out because we haven't had resolutions yet. Some of the issues were not fully resolved. So there is a return inspection on a regular basis to be able to follow up to see if those issues are resolved. At the same time, we have the same sanitation team doing other work across the county. So as much as many times they are able to get into the building, they do that. But at this point, our resources are stretched very thin, but they are trying as much as possible to go there as often as they can.
If they find a violation, and it's a week since, the deadline for having it fixed, are all the days that since the deadline until the day they found it counted as separate?
Not necessarily, because if they cite an entity for a violation, the presumption is that the entity will fix it. if they go back in and see a different violation or similar violation, they will recite them. But you cannot justify that it's the same thing that I saw 5 days or a month ago. So they will always cite them for new. So anytime they go for inspection and sees a violation, that is considered a new violation, even if it's the same thing or the same, something similar to what was previously seen.
Deborah Dawson.
Yeah, I guess I'm considerably less interested in whether or not they're incurring more fines than I am in understanding whether they have remedied the violations that have already been assessed. So what's going on with those?
That is what the re-inspection is supposed to do.
So we don't know.
Yeah, we only know if those violations are remedied when the re-inspection happens. But anytime they find, I believe anytime they find a violation, there is a quick return to the location in a short period to make sure that they have remedied those issues.
Well, I can tell you that the IDA is very interested.
Yes.
So please keep us informed.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think the confusion stems with if we say we give them a certain deadline, let's just say May 1st, and we don't go back May 1st, when does the clock start to add? If you have 40 violations and we're saying for each violation it's $2,000 per day, then that would be $8,000 a day. You know, is that what we're assuming, that they're going to be charged per day? And shouldn't it be our responsibility to go back as of May 1st and make sure that these were done?
Yeah, what I can say is that I will invite our environmental team at the next meeting to provide the details and response as to how they carry out those inspections. But my understanding is that there is a date that is given to them to fix those violations, and they will return on or before that date or just after that date to make sure that those violations are fixed. And if they are not fixed, they'll recite them again. But I'll invite them in at the next meeting to provide details on how they go about their inspections.
Okay, I just want to make sure that if we gave them the deadline of May 1st, that we go in May 2nd.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, and we'll have an update perhaps at our next legislature meeting in 2 weeks?
Absolutely, yes. we
Okay.
will.
Okay. Any other questions for Corsa? Okay. Next is Maury Josephson, County Attorney.
Okay. Before going into my report, one thing I'll suggest is if you have detailed questions about the enforcement process for Department of Health and the issues at Asteri, please feel free to call Holly Mosier of my office, who handles the prosecution of those for the Department of Health, and she would be happy to walk through the process. I'll also ask her if she could come to the next meeting along with the Department of Health staff, because they work together in enforcing and prosecuting those violations. And so if there are detailed questions like that, they should be able to answer them for you about how the particular pieces work. Our office has been busy with some of the things that Corsa was talking about, and some others. We have continued our coordination with the city attorney's office on a number of issues, particularly maintaining the momentum with respect to Asteri enforcement, and also trying to put together a city-county group to debrief together and really make sure we've learned the lessons that we can from the most recent set of incidences. We've been working on the attorney fee application process. We've had a number of TCAT issues. We've had a bunch of litigation that we've been working on, including employment litigation and commercial litigation, as well as negotiations to put into effect transactions that the legislature has already approved. What I wanted to report out, we have some interesting litigation just happening locally in our courts. And one decision I wanted to comment on that you may have heard about in some news reports is a decision by Judge Masler, not the one upholding or finding that landlords don't have to take Section 8, which is now being appealed to the New York Court of Appeals by the AG's office, but rather FLX Strong and Cayuga Lake Environmental now versus the Town of Lansing Zoning Board of Appeals and TerraWolf. You may have heard that there was a decision at the end of April allowing that lawsuit to proceed, and I just wanted to tell you what that's about and what the next things are that what we might expect to see. What happened in that case? It's what's called an Article 78 proceeding seeking to challenge the determination by the Board of Zoning Appeals that the data center project constitutes general processing within the meaning of the Town of Lansing's zoning code. The Town of Lansing and the developer of the project challenged the standing of those two environmental groups to bring the lawsuit, and Judge Masler in his decision found that they did have standing. The issue of standing in this instance was there an allegation in the lawsuit of some specific concrete harm as opposed to a speculative harm such that these groups could be the plaintiff in what's called a justiciable controversy, and the court found that they did. The concrete harm that was alleged related to noise emanating from the facility, and there were two sets of allegations that Judge Masler found were sufficient to allow the lawsuit to proceed. One is that the noise would affect the public's ability to enjoy the Cayuga Wildlife Management Area, which is very proximate to the property where the data center would be located, and another set of allegations by an individual saying that he would be deprived of enjoyment of his home because he would hear the noise from the facility at his home. So those were found to be sufficiently concrete allegations to allow the case to go forward. What it will go forward to determine is whether the Zoning Board of the Board of Zoning Appeals decision, I'm confusing it with the Ithaca nomenclature, had committed an error of law. And in that respect, interestingly, the judge said it rejected an argument that the court should defer to the ZBA's expertise, but rather that this is an issue of pure legal interpretation of a statutory term. So that's what the lawsuit will now center upon, and whether there was other issues to suggest that the outcome was arbitrary or capricious. Now, the finding of standing doesn't mean that the court was finding in favor of the plaintiffs, only that they had alleged enough to proceed. The next things that should be happening in the case are on May 22nd, the Zoning Board of Appeals needs to answer the petition. Replies are due on June 11th, and there will be a hearing on June 18th via Teams, and the court indicates that it will provide a link open to the public to participate, to listen to that hearing. Other than the items we're working on in that report out, I'm happy to answer any questions, and of course, we'll likely have a fair amount to say in our executive sessions later on.
Thank you, Maury. Any questions for Maury? Judith?
Thanks very much. I was very curious about that lawsuit. I'm wondering, over this time period that you've described from now to mid-July, can TeraWolf do anything in terms of continuing the process of building the facility, or does everything have to stay on hold until the judicial situation is sorted out?
At the moment, the judicial decision, and actually the hearing is in June, not mid-July, but the planning board's process and the judicial process will likely continue running in parallel, as opposed to one holding up the other, because there was no stay entered in the court case. And again, this is mainly from news reports. TeraWolf did drop the site plan, and the Lansing Planning Board is proceeding to discuss it, and they appear to be contemplating a rather intricate and lengthy process for that.
Any other questions for Maury? Okay, next is Daryl Tuttle, our Finance Director.
Good evening. My department continues to work on the usual operational items. The one exception is we are in the third week of our on-site portion of our audit. The good news is we moved our audit 1 week earlier this year than usual, and everything's moving at a great pace and no issues so far. I anticipate having some unaudited figures for the budget retreat if everything goes as well. Other than that, I have nothing new to report, but I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Daryl. Any questions for Daryl? Okay, thank you. Are there any resolutions to be added or withdrawn from our agenda? Okay, we're going to move on to consent agenda. Resolutions and appointments to be voted on as a group unless any member of the legislature requests that a resolution or appointment be instead included separately and individually as part of the business of standing or special committees. Advisory board appointments, ID 14047. Environmental Management Council, Kathleen Kitty Gifford, Town of Newfield Representative, term expires December 31st, 2027. Resolution A, resolution urging the governor and relevant state agencies to improve the process for distribution of adult cannabis sales tax proceeds, ID 13991. Resolution B, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement between Tompkins County and Schuyler County Public Transportation Service, ID 14018.
I'd like to pull that one.
Okay. Resolution C, approval of amended bylaws, Tompkins County Office of the Aging Advisory Board, ID 14013. Resolution D, authorization to accept New York State Canal Corporation Marine Patrol Grant 2026 through 2027, ID 14032. Resolution E, authorization to accept an award of a grant from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice Services, New York State Criminal Justice Research Consortium, ID 14035. Resolution F, resolution in support of the New York State Assembly Bill. Oh, we did that one. We're going to pull that one. Okay, can I have a mover for the consent agenda? Moved by Adam Vinson, seconded by Rachel Oslin. And all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Why don't we move on, if it's all right with everyone, we just keep going? We'll take a break after we go through standing committees and before executive session. Okay. Workforce Diversity and Inclusion Committee, Veronica Pillar, Chair.
Thank you. WDIC met last Monday, April 27th, and had some good discussions about a large variety of things that Team Jedi is working on, that our Chief Equity and Diversity Officer is working on, and most prominently, we heard from Samantha Allmendinger, our Training and Development Coordinator. I hope that's her title, correct me if I've got it wrong, in HR, who's also a member of WDIC, talking about the Employee Engagement Committee that she helps lead, and its work on workplace wellness and other things. So we got to hear a lot of the things that staff are doing in this committee group, which is totally staff organized, staff run, voluntary, and has been through multiple iterations, but consistently existing since basically since the 2018 climate survey, where it came together to process some of the results and exists until now. And they've been doing, I think, great work advocating for various initiatives that come out of staff's particular needs. We talked about the couple things we wanted to dive into more in the future was diving more into the value of professional development funds and travel and training funding, which has been a hot topic for the last few years and difficult to make budgetary decisions about, but I think that one of the dynamics going on there is that the ways such funds can be used and have been used in our very wide variety of departments are not necessarily known or understood by the budget decision makers, us, and so we wanted to dive into that some more. We also talked about, and this was something that the Employee Engagement Committee had brought up, they recommended more peer support for employees in all, what am I trying to say? I'm forgetting where we've had these discussions. Last year, there was a proposal to fund a position, a peer support coordinator position to basically do what it sounds like, provide support to struggling employees and to train others who wanted to be trained to be peer support folks in their departments or units. We have a program like this among first responders, but there is no one job position that is doing this work. It's someone doing this concurrently with other duties, and the Employee Engagement Committee definitely continues to recommend the inclusion of a peer support coordinator. And so we also had just a broader discussion about like trauma and other like personal struggles that can come up during the course of work, and how, you know, as a workplace, we should or could be supporting employees around that. And I think we will definitely be circling back to that topic. We also did a little just recap of the history of previous workplace climate surveys and what's been done to understand and respond to the results of them. And I won't reiterate that. Some people have heard this many times, but this is all to catch newer members up to speed in preparation for doing a new climate survey later this year. And that's all.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Veronica? Thank you. Why don't we go ahead and do facilities and infrastructure with
Actually, sorry, can I say one more thing? Our May meeting, we rescheduled from the typical day because it was Memorial Day. So we will next meet on Wednesday, May 27th at 9:30 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Why don't we go ahead and move on to Lee Shirtliff and facilities. I realize Frank is here and your resolution was pulled, so you can at least enjoy a little bit of the gray outside. Go for it, Lee.
Thank you, Shauna. F&I has not met since our last meeting, but we'll be meeting on the 21st this month, Thursday morning, the 21st at 10 o'clock. And one item on the agenda tonight was pulled under the consent agenda. Resolution B, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement between Tompkins County and Schuyler County Public Transportation Service, ID number 14018, and I will move that.
And seconded by Dan Wakeman.
And Judith asked for that to be pulled. Frank Doldo is with us from Department of Planning and Sustainability.
Yeah, I'm right here. I know you can't see me over this because I'm so short, but I'm right here.
I pulled this because I thought it's important for people to know that this is happening. This represents an agreement between Tompkins County and Schuyler County that would effectively allow people to get on a bus in Schuyler County and come to Tompkins County, or get on a bus in Tompkins County and go to Schuyler County, which I think is pretty fabulous. I mean, there's some limitations on what you can do. You can't take a Schuyler County bus within Tompkins County, but you can, if you're, trying to get to work or you're trying to get to the hospital from Schuyler County, it will allow you to take a bus, and it'll allow you to buy a ticket in one county and get a transfer in the next one, so you're not double paying on bus tickets. So I think it's a pretty great thing and should be mentioned out loud.
Great, thank you. Frank, would you like to add anything?
Not at all. We're hoping this works. Just to clarify, Schuyler County has been coming to Tompkins County, but one of the key pieces that they wanted was to get to Green Street, and what they wanted to do is work with TCAT. This will also give Tompkins County residents that want to go to Schuyler County the ability to do that. It's going to be running 5 days a week right now, and we'll see how it goes, and I'll be happy to share details, but thank you for bringing it up.
Iris Peckman?
Yeah, thanks. Do you have a sense of the demand for this?
Excuse me?
Do you have a sense of like how many people would be using this, or what the ridership projections are?
No, we have no ridership projections. I attend meetings regularly in Schuyler County to talk about what they're doing and what we're doing, and there was a constant ask to get to Green Street, and so just like when we had an agreement with Cortland County.
That's great. Look forward to hearing how it goes.
John Hunt, and then Greg.
Assuming we pass this, when will it be implemented?
As soon as we sign an agreement on both sides, this is authorizing our side to sign. We'll get them to sign. I will send an email to the clerks to notify you. We want to get publicity out, so I will send a note to the clerks to notify you all when the official start date is.
Greg Muzzy.
Frank, you mentioned something just a minute ago, when we had an agreement with Cortland County. Do we have this type of intermunicipal or agreement with any other transit authorities in surrounding counties?
I can't answer that question for you right now because some of the contracts, when Cortland County transferred over to Centro, I don't think we've updated that contract yet, but Centro has already worked out an agreement, worked out a transfer with TCAT at TC3, and I know C-Tran, Chemung County, comes in here. I don't know if an official agreement has been signed yet.
Yeah. Great, thank you for your work on that.
Any other questions for Frank? Okay, let's do a roll call. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
That's not
a roll call.
Okay, let's just raise hands then. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you all. Okay, anything else for you, Lee?
I'm good.
Okay, any questions for Lee? Okay, let's move on to Deborah Dawson, Budget, Capital, and Personnel Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Budget, Capital, and Personnel is always a barrel of monkeys, but it's going to be particularly exciting next Monday. We have, first of all, the annual resolutions relating to a local law that would allow us to override the tax levy. This is Lee Shirtliff's very favorite thing. I'll just remind him this doesn't mean we're going to override the tax levy. But we have a couple of interesting reports. One is an initial report from our Director of Finance concerning considerations as we move towards more centralized county finance. And we also have a report from Human Resources on options for our caregiver and parental leave program.
Great. Any questions or comments for Deborah? Okay, thanks, Deborah. Next is Government Operations Committee, Randy Brown, Chair.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, our next meeting is the 12th at 9 a.m. It's a week from today. We're going to be getting a report from assessment, also talking about homestead tax options. So that's one of the things that's going to be discussed about that. We're also getting a presentation from the library and updates from them. So we're looking forward to that. We're also going to focus on defining our goals a little clearer as to what we're really trying to do and when, and a few other things.
Okay, any questions or comments for Randy Brown? Okay, thank you, Randy. Oh, you do have a resolution. Would you like to move that?
So it's Resolution G, resolution urging the state legislature to amend New York's in-rem foreclosure law to relieve counties of the rising cost of holding other municipalities harmless for unpaid real property taxes. And I move that.
Thank you, Randy. Can I have a seconder? Seconded by Judith Hubbard. Randy, would you like to speak to this? I think Deborah might have brought it back from NISEC.
Yeah, go ahead, Deborah.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I would like to offer an amendment.
Okay.
On page 54 of your packet, in the alternative, and in lieu of a state guarantee, eliminate the requirement that counties guarantee the delinquent taxes due to school districts and towns beyond the amount collected out of foreclosure sales.
Is that friendly to the mover and the seconder?
Yeah, certainly.
Could you repeat that just one more time, please?
Eliminate the requirement that counties guarantee the delinquent taxes due to school districts and towns beyond the amount collected out of foreclosure sales. In other words, if the worst happens in this Pung decision, it goes in favor of the plaintiff. If we don't collect out of foreclosure, then if we don't collect out of foreclosure enough to pay the constituent municipalities' taxes, we're not on the hook to pay those taxes. It just more fairly apportions the burden between the county and the cities, towns, villages, school districts.
Judith, is that friendly?
I have a question about how that would work, because right now we have to guarantee the taxes every year, and then you don't know how much you're getting out of the foreclosure sale until the foreclosure sale actually comes around. So then you might be making a town whole year over year, and at the end you have to claw back extra money. So I'm not sure that I see the equity in requiring the county to front taxes, especially if we have to wait years to collect them or foreclose. I don't see the equity in us having to keep shelling out that money, especially given that our county taxes are frequently the lowest piece of all of the unpaid taxes. School district taxes are clearly way larger.
Okay, so just going back to process, if it's not friendly, then you'll need a seconder for your amendment.
Okay.
Is that friendly or unfriendly, Judith?
I would rather it be modified in a different way.
Okay.
I'll say it's not friendly to me because I'd like to discuss.
That's great. Yep. So Deborah, you're making an amendment. Can I have a second for Deborah's amendment?
I would second it for discussion's sake.
Okay. Seconded by Greg Mizzi, and those that would like to speak to it, speak to the amendment, Deborah's amendment. Lee Shurtleff, Judith, and Dan.
A couple of questions. in what Deborah cited, I'm trying to follow it. Does it absolve the county of being in the position of absorbing temporarily those delinquent taxes?
Yeah, I would say it does.
Okay. Secondly, and this may be a Maury or Darrell question, but for the amount that the county takes on or the period of time, does the county not assess a fairly heavy penalty for carrying the delinquent taxes? I think 2% up front after the towns and schools have assessed theirs during the late period. And then we're what, 2% a month, 1 or 2% a month beyond that? But when there's delinquent taxes, the county is accruing a substantial amount of penalty until the sale occurs. And I think that, and my point to it is the county's got the capacity to do that, but it also realizes a significant amount of dollars unless the auction does not bring forward a good amount.
Unless Maury can pipe in to clarify, we do charge a 1% interest each month, and there is a initial fee. There's also a foreclosure fee. However, I believe that goes back as surplus. We do not keep that when we sell the property, but I'd prefer an opportunity to make sure I have these figures exactly right in the whole process.
Who keeps the interest? Does that get distributed to the? No.
No, it does not. We make them whole and then we charge. It's 12% per annual, so 1 per month.
Okay.
There's a timing issue with respect to the amendment, which is that the county it would need to be, as Judith described, some sort of rolling accounting process because the guarantee will have been paid long before the foreclosure happens. So the county won't know what it's going to get out of the foreclosure until, maybe a year, maybe, depending on the type of property, maybe 3 years after the initial delinquency that the county makes the school district or locality whole for. So I think it would probably have to be some sort of rolling mechanism where if a sufficient amount was not collected from the foreclosure in the future, that there'd be some way of clawing that back from the next make-whole payment. Right, an offset against the next.
Although if it's going to be procedurally such a dumpster fire, I think I will just withdraw my amendment.
Okay. So we're back to the original resolution as brought forward. And we'll start a whole new list. Isn't that fun? Let's see here. I have Judith, Dan, and someone over here. 3 of you. Okay. Go for it, Judith.
So one of the comments that was made during public comment was that in some cases, if a property owner might pay their county taxes and pay their school district taxes, but not pay their town taxes. And I wonder if an alternative amendment, where instead of, at the end of that same statement, which says, in the alternative and in lieu of a state guarantee, eliminate the requirement that counties guarantee the delinquent taxes due to school districts and towns, and then add to that, beyond the value of taxes collected by the county. In other words, if somebody opts to not pay their town tax, but they do pay their county tax, that we will send county tax to the municipality. So we're not out of pocket, but we're not keeping this money and leaving them in the lurch. And then we're accruing, we're not getting our taxes, but we're the only ones who can foreclose. So it seems a little unfair that somebody would not pay their town taxes. The town can't do anything about it, right? And then they're paying the county taxes, so the county doesn't feel anything and doesn't feel the incentive to go ahead with foreclosure.
I'd like to clarify that there is nothing in this resolution that would shift the burden of foreclosure on onto a constituent municipality. I don't think anything in here suggests that we wouldn't be doing foreclosures on behalf of other municipalities.
I just want to add that all the taxes are all on one bill. They don't get to choose whether they pay the town or the county. It's that we cannot accept, well, the town could not accept partial payment, so they'd have to pay the whole bill or be delinquent and then turn it over to us.
But I get separate taxes for the city and the county. Is that, I paid them separately to?
We do not make the city, it's separate.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the towns, villages, and school districts.
I don't think it is an amendment. That's not an amendment,
I
right?
guess that's already sort of in the process, so then.
Okay, we're going to go Dan, Greg, Lee, and Randy.
Thank you. I am not in support of this as written for exactly that clause. And I've communicated this with several of you already. I did not communicate with Mike Lane in advance. We came up with this completely independently, Mike. But I'm going to propose the amendment that we strike this clause altogether.
I would second that.
What, can you tell us what clause that is and read it out loud,
This
please?
is on page 54 of our packet. Lines 1 and 2 reads, in the alternative and in lieu of state guarantee, eliminate the requirement that counties guarantee the delinquent taxes to school districts and towns. As Maury has, may I continue?
Yeah, go for it, sure.
As Maury has opined in the past here, the process we've got here is a complete mess. And it needs to be cleaned up. And to the rest of this resolution in support of that cleanup, I am in support of. I think that pushing this problem to the smaller municipalities we need to be the big brother here and support them in this regard since we do have the bigger hammer.
Can I have a seconder for, oh, sorry. Okay,
yeah, it was
gotcha.
already done.
Sorry about that.
I think also that this will spread apart a problem from 62 entities in the state to several hundred entities in the state. So let's keep it as is and strongly ask the state to go ahead and do something to clean it up.
Okay, we're going to speak to Dan's amendment. Would anyone like to speak to that?
Point of order.
Yep.
In order to make the final clause in this allow for interest-free state loans, I think you need to keep the in the alternative and in lieu of a state guarantee, at least as it relates to that final clause.
Is that something you can explain, Maury or Daryl?
Well, if there is a state guarantee, then we don't need that clause, is my point. I'm not arguing with what you're trying to do. I'm just saying that
No, I thank you for making us think about that.
So I do just want to remind my colleagues, while I know we like to do these feel-good resolutions, I do want you to look around and see all the staff that are here that we're paying a lot of money to be here. And these are important resolutions, but I ask that we not dig too deep because we are going to have 2 executive sessions this evening. And I know people are tired. So with that said, are you comfortable moving forward with taking out the 2 sentences there and leaving the last clause, or would you like to take that one out as well?
You're asking me. At first glance, you're making me think about it, Deb. Thank you. At first glance, I think this is still plausible because in the sense that we would be we're asking the state to open up a loan to us.
right.
So I think that's still legitimate.
Yeah, I'm just saying, put the in the alternative and in lieu of a state guarantee, allow for interest-free
I see what you're doing. You're saying in the alternative in lieu of state guarantee, comma, jump down to line 5, allow for interest-free state loans.
Yeah. We can still leave the provide liability protections in there too. It's just, does that make sense to everybody?
You could say either it's friendly or not.
It's friendly.
Lee, is that friendly? Is it unfriendly to anyone? Okay, that's going to be the new language then. Do you need it repeated, Katrina? Okay, if you could repeat it again for us, please.
Okay, so the way it goes now is we're going to keep line 1, the first part, in the alternative and in lieu of state guarantee. Oh, wait a minute. See, no, we're jumping here around 3 and 4.
Right. You're gonna take out 1 and 2. You're gonna leave 3 and 4 in, and then you're gonna say in the alternative and in lieu.
All right, so we're going to take that clause from line 1 and move it to the front of line 5.
Okay.
So in the front of line 5, it would say, in the alternative and in lieu of a state guarantee, allow for the interest-free state loans, et cetera.
Correct.
Exactly.
And that's friendly to everyone. Okay. Okay, now we're going to speak to the amendment. Greg Mezzi?
Yeah, I mean, we're essentially asking the state to take it over, and still we're asking them to eliminate the requirement that counties guarantee, because we're asking the state to take it over. So I understand the challenges of we're the bigger government. I think the state is the bigger government. But I also think school taxes and municipal taxing jurisdictions should be treated somewhat differently. So if I were to be the one debating this in Albany, which we're not, so I won't, I would ask for maybe a distinction where counties and towns and villages stick together and school districts be only made whole once the taxes are paid. I don't think we should actually be fronting the money till we're paid. I think it puts an equal stress on the community. And so I, for that reason, will not support the amendment. We'll support the resolution as written, because I think if we're waiting for payment, everyone should wait for payment, and they should be able to recoup their pro rata share of whatever is collected plus appropriate interest. I understand why my colleagues want to do this, but I don't see the reason to, because I don't think we should be taxing the broader constituent groups for delinquencies related to school and town taxes.
Thank you. Veronica, and then Iris. And we're speaking just to the amendment right now.
Yeah, I support the amendment, I guess somewhat in sympathy with what our former town and village electeds have brought up, but also because this, as I'm thinking about it, I remember this resolution, we're not making policy or designing policy. We are asking the state to do something, and the state is probably not going to listen to us, but we may as well ask for what we actually want them to do, which is to become the guarantor of the unpaid taxes. And I think we might as well leave it as a stronger ask to do that and not offer our preferred way for them to divvy up the responsibility they're not taking among the smaller governments. So I like it this way.
Great. Iris?
I'm curious if this is pretty much the language coming from NISAC, and if not, how it has changed. I guess I'm wondering how the amendment would be different from the NISAC recommendation.
It would take out the elimination alternative.
And can you speak to why NISAC would want that in there?
Because NISAC just wants to get the counties out from under an obligation, and they're not particularly concerned about the cities, towns, and villages. Or school districts.
Judith?
Comes as news to me, the county doesn't make the city whole. So, you know, if we follow with the existing language, it's just treating the rest of the municipalities the way we treat the city, not making them whole. I guess there's a distinction in the law right now where you make the towns whole and the school districts whole, but not the cities, which is a little odd, and I'd be happy to have equal treatment.
Does the city do its own foreclosures, Maury or Daryl?
Excuse me?
No.
Does the city do its own foreclosures?
No, it does not. We do the foreclosures for them.
But we don't make them whole until we finish the foreclosure.
I don't believe we do. We don't make them whole.
Interesting. Is
Okay.
that state law?
I do not know that off the top of my head. I'd have to look into that and answer.
Why don't we go ahead and vote on the amendment? And all those in favor voting for the amendment, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm 11. The amendment passes. Now we're voting on.
Let's ask for no's.
I'm sorry?
Let's ask for
Oh,
no's.
those against, please. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So that's 11-3, the amendment passes. Now we are going back to the original resolution with the amendments. Any questions, comments? Greg Mezzi?
I understand we want to make the big ask, but I don't actually see I see the alternative that we previously proposed as a solution compromise that we probably could have gotten through Albany. I don't see this large ask as something that's even, especially in an election year, they're even going to consider. So I think this is kind of a wasted effort at this point.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. All those in favor of the resolution with the amendment, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
And Travis.
Yep. Okay. 14. All those against, please raise your hand. 1, 2. 14-2, that passes with the amendment. Did you have?
How do you get?
Oh, sorry, 13-2. Sorry about that.
No, Irene.
Yeah.
11-2.
We have 16 members.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Yeah. Your math is
But we
off
don't
too.
have 16 people here. All
No,
right.
no. The ghost of Irene.
It's time for a break.
It is definitely time for a break. Do we want to just finish up with committee stuff and then we'll take a break? Okay. Next, Health and Human Services. Randy, did you have anything else for government operations? Okay. Health and Human Services Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We haven't met since our last meeting, and we're going to meet again on May 20th. That's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Brooks? Okay. Let's see here. HED Committee, Greg Mezzi.
Yes, thank you. We meet tomorrow, May the 6th, at 10 a.m. here in Chambers. We will have a brief conversation amongst our county staff and legislators around the county study currently underway for the minimum wage study. We'll be looking at the Community Housing Development Fund dispersal of around 25 awards. We'll have a tourism program update, and we'll have Visit Ithaca's 2025 annual report, amongst some other things. Legislator Packman is going to help me chair the meeting tomorrow, so tune in. Hopefully she does her homework tonight and everything goes smoothly tomorrow, which I'm sure it will. But I want to just encourage my other colleagues who this is not your first term to think about your vice chairs and the role that they play in the committee and trying to incorporate more opportunity for not that Iris needs it, but just looking at ways to sort of share some of that responsibility. So I look forward to taking a back seat tomorrow and having a great HED meeting.
Thank you, Greg. Any questions or comments for Greg? Okay. Next, we have Planning, Energy, and Environmental Quality Committee, and Adam Vinson, Vice Chair, is going to report tonight.
Oh, we have not had a meeting since the last legislature meeting. As a matter of fact, we haven't had a peak meeting in, I want to say, 3 legislature meetings now. So it's very exciting to get back to work. We have several presentations on our meeting. It's going to be on the 7th, Thursday. We have presentations from the Department of Planning and Sustainability, presentations from the Agriculture and Farmland Protection Board, the Water Resources Council, which also has its own resolution on recognizing the Cayuga-Seneca Canal as part of the Cayuga Lake watershed, which I've been told that has been done to open a source of funding for them. And then we have a presentation from the Soil, Water, and Conservation District.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Adam? Okay. Thank you. Next, we have Public Safety Committee, Travis Brooks, Chair.
We met on May 26th. We met on April 28th. We had the presentation from the Cornell students about the Narcan. We all see how that turned out. It was an excellent presentation. Two things that really stood out to me was the reporting from probation and day reporting. I didn't realize how much the College Upstate Initiative was embedded in probation and day reporting. Listening to Dan talk about the number of folks that utilize day reporting outside of being on probation, their participation numbers are way up, which was really exciting to hear about, and the work that they're doing. The jail statistics, there's 57 folks as of yesterday in the jail, and 5 are boarded out. And we will meet again at the end of May. We do have one resolution, ID 14006, supporting the increase of the district attorney's salary for fiscal year 2026.
Seconded by Rachel Oslin.
I will turn this over to Corsa. This passed the committee. I'll turn this over to Corsa.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. So every year we increase COLA adjustment during the budget process. The DA is different. Their salary is set by the state. So when the state released the new guidance, that's when we did the budget amendment. So anytime the state releases a new COLA adjustment, then we'll pass this resolution. So just to make sure we conform to the state provisions.
Okay, are there any questions or comments about the resolution? Okay, all those in favor? Mike Sigler?
And this is linked to the other pay?
It's linked to the judge's pay.
So the judges make $250,000?
Yeah, they make the same salary as the DA, yes. Or the DA make the same salary as the judge.
Okay.
The district judges.
Corsa, does that differ based on location and the population?
Yes, there are some differences in the salary based on population and other factors. So yes, there are differences based on the county.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for Corsa? Comments? Okay. Mike Sigler?
One more. So our county court judges make $250,000, and then our state supreme, do we know the scale for state supreme court judges and all that?
I don't have it right now. I can present it to you.
That'd be cool. I was surprised at the number.
I'll send the salary schedules across to all of you.
Okay.
Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. That passes. And let's see here.
Minutes.
Why don't we, are there any individual member filed resolutions? I see none. We have minutes for our previous meeting, April 21st, 2026. If I could have a mover, please. Moved by Greg Muzzy, seconded by Christy Binconi. Any corrections, comments, questions? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. And that is unanimous. Great. We are going to, I'm going to ask for a mover to go into executive session for the purposes of litigation strategy and for the purpose of contract with a particular entity. And we will not be making any decisions after executive session. Can I have a mover, please? Moved by Greg Muzzy, seconded by Adam Vinson. Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, that's unanimous. And why don't we go ahead and take a 15-minute break?
Ooh.